Good evening. It is Tuesday, August 15th, 2023. This is the monthly meeting of the Urbana Human Relations Commission that I am calling to order. Can I get a roll call, please?
Siobhan Gibson.
Here.
Ann Panthen.
Here.
Peter Resnick.
Here.
Greg Schroeder.
Here.
Shalini Smith.
Here.
All right, so we have a quorum. Item 2 on our agenda is approval of the agenda. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Want a second?
Second.
All right, and who moved the, Ann? So a motion by Ann, second by, and I'm sorry? Siobhan. I'm gonna catch up with everybody's names soon enough. Is there any discussion?
I'd like to make a motion to add the 1222G reports to the agenda.
Sounds good. Will we take that as a friendly amendment, Ann? Do you want to just add that to the agenda? Is that okay with the
A friendly
person
amendment.
who made the motion?
It is, yes.
Is that okay with the seconder?
Yes.
All right, so we'll just add discussion of the 1222G report to old business under the agenda. So unfinished business, so section 6. Any other discussion of the agenda? So we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Now we have the approval of the July 11th, 2023 minutes. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
So I have a motion by Ann, a second by Greg. Any questions, comments, changes to the minutes? All right. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? That motion carries. Item 5, public participation. Yes. Did we skip over? Oh! The most important part of the agenda, as far as I'm concerned. We skipped over item 3 because I was in a rush, which is introduction of a new member. We have a new member on the commission. Yay. Carla, would you like to introduce our new member?
I would like to introduce Shalini Smith to the Human Relations Commission. Shalini, this is her first meeting. She was approved on July 24th. And so I will let her tell you a little bit about herself.
Hello, I am Shalini Smith. I'm Shalini Smith. I am a librarian at 2 different places in town. I work at the Urbana Free Library and the Parkland College Library. I don't know what else to say, honestly. I'm happy to be here.
Well, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. We have been down a few members for a while, and it is great that you volunteered to take on this task. It is so very important to the city. So thank you and welcome. All right, sorry about that. So moving on to item 5 of the agenda, which is public participation. And seeing none, we will move on to item 6, unfinished business. The only item is what we've just added, which is discussion of 1222G reports. For our new members, section 1222G of the ordinance is the one where if people have concerns or complaints about city staff discriminating against them, they can bring the complaint to the commission, and there's a series of procedures we go through to investigate such reports and then to make recommendations with Carla to City Council about them and make a report to the mayor. So Carla, where are we with this and what is our next step?
We're still waiting for, I believe, one additional report, and I believe all those reports have now gone to the mayor. I have not had an opportunity to get back with the mayor to see where she is in that process. Sorry about that. I just remembered that I needed to get that done, but that's on my agenda to get done. So hopefully we'll be able to move forward with that once that last one is in, and then she has all the recommendations. I'll see how she wants to proceed with that, and then bring that back to the commission. But I believe you guys wanted to just at least give a briefing, an overview of what they were.
Right, I think as per our procedures, once we've got all those reports in, we'll do a full briefing, agree to send them forward to the discussion with the city council.
We're still waiting for one.
And is that mine? Thank you. Embarrassing me in public is just fine. I know exactly what needs to go in that report, so it's not a big deal. But I will get on that this evening after our meeting. All right. Thank you, Carla. So, item 7, new business. We have our EEO workforce statistics. So this is where we're going to go through and take a look at workforce statistics for city contractors, and the standard things we do based often on the recommendations of staff are approve the city contracting with this contractor for 2 years, do 1 year or 6 months with a letter to them and asking them for more information, before we make a decision, or not approving the contract, which we have to date not done. So, Carla, would you give us a quick introduction, and then we can get a motion on the floor, if you think a quick introduction is needed.
Okay, there are 10 businesses that are before you. Chris and Company, Cross Construction, Farnsworth Group, Voight's Contractors, Health Alliance Medical Plans, Key Equipment and Supply Company, National Power Rodding Corp., Pipe View LLC, Roanoke Concrete Products Company, and Schomburg and Schomburg Construction. All of you received a copy of the recommendations, and the recommendations go from 2 years to 1 year with a good faith effort, either plan submitted or plan updated.
Does anybody wish to make a motion? Give folks a quick read over if they haven't gotten through all of them yet.
There's only one new, right?
Right, and of the ones that are up for renewal, Roanoke and Key Equipment each got a year last time, which means we ought to be reviewing them and see if they've made progress.
Right.
And for the others that have got, was there one other that got 1 year, or just those two? There were 3. I'm looking at the old document there.
Ross, Farnsworth, and.
Actually, there were 4
Foots.
1 years.
Is it Foots or Futes?
Voight,
Hoyts.
or is it just Voight?
And with the others, we just want to make sure they haven't got, thank you, shiny new one. With the others, we want to review the numbers to make sure they haven't gotten worse in any particular way.
One thing I tried to do was look at the hires and the separations to see if there was a net gain or a net loss. I tried to add that to this new set.
Yeah, I tend to do that myself, just to kind of get a feel for, have they made good faith efforts? And
I knew that that was something that you guys had talked about, so I was trying to put all that information on here so that you can readily have it at your fingertips.
Any questions for staff, or does someone want to make a motion?
I'm unfortunately not doing them in alphabetical order. It'll be in the order that they're on the table. I'd like to make a motion for Cross Construction, 1 year plus good faith effort. Farnsworth Group, 1 year plus good faith effort. Chris and Company Incorporated, 2 years. Health Alliance Medical Plans Incorporated, 2 years. Roanoke Concrete Products Company, 1 year plus good faith effort. Pipeview LLC, 2 years. Key Equipment and Supply Company, 1 year plus good faith effort. Foyt's Contractors Incorporated, 1 year plus good faith effort. National Power Rotting Corporation, 2 years. And Schaumburg and Schaumburg Construction Incorporated, 1 year plus good faith effort.
Okay, so we have a motion on the table. Do we have a second?
Second?
All right, so that's a motion by Greg, a second by Ann. Any discussion? People have questions?
I have questions.
Go right ahead.
My first question is with Chris and Company, Inc. and the recommendation for 2 years. Earlier you said you were looking at employees and the separation of employees to see what's happening. And so I had a question specifically for Chris and Company about hiring of POCs, or can I say POCs? Okay. Hiring of POCs and the separation of POCs. So there are no new hires, but there's one separation. And so my question is, what have they stated that they're doing to bring in more POCs, since you don't actually have to live local to be hired because traveling is included in the job?
Included, or did I add that?
No, just kind of reading through their documentation, you travel for work. So if you travel for work, then you don't actually have to be a resident of Thomasboro to be hired. So I don't know if, like, the documentation about transportation and being in a small town is enough of a consideration when saying that it's hard to recruit and retain POCs if you don't actually have to live in Thomasboro to obtain a job with Chris and Company, since you travel for work.
Well, that's not a question I've asked them, and that's a good question. However, when I look at it, most of the companies, they hire from within a certain radius, and so I look at what is their workforce availability. Although they're close to Urbana, would someone want to travel a long distance to a company? I can't say that for sure, but for most of the companies, they are hiring within a certain radius, 5 or 10 miles. And so that's why I just give that information of where their pool of workforce is coming from. But we can ask those questions. Are they recruiting outside of their radius? Most of the companies, when they give us a good faith effort, they weren't required to give one. When they're required to do that, they tell us what efforts are they taking. But we can certainly ask them.
And this is for Chris and Company?
Yes.
So one other thing that you should be aware of is for companies less than 15 employees, our process, unless there's some other reason, our process is to approve them for 2 years no matter what, simply because whatever statistics we end up with might not be representative of anything. So unless there's, some reason that we really want to dig into that, we've generally just said we'll approve them for 2 years.
And also EEO.
Is it 20?
Also EEO, well, it's 20, we use 20.
20, sorry.
But EEO is actually 15 and under. The actual law says 15 and under. They're not required to do it. But we
Gotcha.
use 15,
Thank you.
or 20. We use 20.
Yes, sorry. I'll only
You
say
gotta
it 5 more times so I confuse everybody. 20 is our number, yes.
Is there a reason we're not using the EEO's 15?
That would be a historical question, because
Yeah.
that's the one I walked in on.
And I don't know if that number was in EEO when we started, was in the federal guidelines when we started this. Was it?
May have, prior to my being here, I wasn't really focused on the
Yeah.
EEO law.
And it's been a long time since we came up with the procedures, so it may have been that we just picked that one because we didn't have anything else to base it on.
And I think it gives a little bit more leeway for the smaller companies, because we rarely have them under 15 unless they're local and doing small jobs. So it just gives a little bit more leeway for those that are on the cusp, so to speak. But that's up to you guys.
I'd welcome a friendly discussion on abiding by the EEO guidelines versus our own.
I'm happy to entertain that as part of this discussion because we are relatively informal about this. But if we want to make a change, we would have to do that at the next meeting. So we can certainly, if you think that that's something we should look into. Anybody else have any thoughts on that?
I recommend that we discuss it the next meeting.
All right. So yeah, let's get that in the next meeting. And since, Greg, you were the silly one to say, let's discuss this, why don't you two discuss with Carla and see if we can come up with some just amendment to our processes? Should be easy enough. All right. Any other discussion of the motion?
Yes.
Go right ahead.
I'm sorry, I have something to ask about all 10.
Why don't you have the floor and just go ahead and ask Carla, and we'll pipe up if we have any further questions.
Okay, so the next one is Cross Construction Incorporated, and I want to say that their affirmative action plan was really good. I liked it. Just looking at their total employees, they have only have 6 POCs, and they had 5 POCs separated. So I guess my question would be, can we ask what are they doing to retain their POC employees?
We can definitely ask, but I believe that as their construction company, where their employees are coming from the unions, and there's been a historical low number of available people of color working or available for the unions.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
On that point, we should reopen the discussion at some point. We keep talking about, in the section that describes that we do this part, there's also this piece that we're supposed to review unions that are supplying workers to contractors. So, and we've never come up with a procedure for that, so we should really talk
That's
about
another
that.
question that I had.
Good.
That's why when they send us their good faith efforts, we always dig a little deeper and say, okay, in addition to informing the unions of you're encouraging minority and women for them to send those types of workers, what else are you doing? And so that's where the good faith effort plans come from, and we dig a little deeper to try to get them to tell us, because sometimes they're doing things and don't realize they're doing them or what we're looking for. And so we ask them, are you advertising in diverse media? And so we kind of get that information from them. The office digs a little deeper.
Okay, thank you. So my next one is a Farnsworth Group. I agree with the recommendation. I just wanted to say that I thought that they had a really good ratio of company. Then the next one. How did we say we were pronouncing it?
Foyts.
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 Foyt's Construction Company. I agree with the recommendation. And so this was my question about, I think in their statement, they said that they depend on the unions to supply them with employees. And so my first question was, is that the only way they can get employees? They have to go through the union? I did see that they mentioned that they were a part of some workforce with the community college, but are there multiple ways that they could get unionized employees from outside of the union?
I do not know if that's because usually they just go to the local unions of, I think it's one union with local organizations, and when they need a certain type of worker, that union provides those workers.
Okay,
I don't think it's like 4 different pipe fitter unions. I think it's one pipe fitter union in several locations.
gotcha, okay.
And when we split out for Foyt's, because they have an office staff, and their office staff is located in, those are full-time employees, they're located in Paris, Illinois.
Okay. I also noted that they had like a low percentage of female employees, but based upon you saying that they can only secure employees, I can understand why that percentage would be lower. But if they, I guess my next question is, what is the communication with the union in terms of making sure that they are getting diverse hires, if they can? Because I mean, the union can only pull from what it can pull from, but what does the recruitment look like to get people with these backgrounds to be members of the union, and so on and so forth, as far as recruiting people, POCs, as well as more women?
And that's what they're talking about when they say they're working with the community college. The community college has programs that, for union trades type, or trade type majors, for lack of a better term right now. And so they're working with them to try to recruit students into those programs that can be a pipeline into the union program.
Okay, great, thank you. And I also noted that they had a really good affirmative action policy in place. Next is Health Alliance Medical Plans. I think my only question is this a contractor of Carl, or is this a subsidiary of Carl? Because I didn't really understand who they were when I was reading the documentation.
No one
Since
really does. Really, it's so confusing. It's not just you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ann, because I can't answer that. They are the vendor, they're the vendor that we work with. I haven't delved to see if their parent company is Carl. I just haven't done that. But, parent company on the
Okay.
application, under name and address of principal office, it says their parent company is Carl.
Gotcha, thank you. I guess I missed that altogether, because I was like, who
Hey, I
who
missed
is
it too.
this?
I totally missed it.
Gotcha, thank you. I also agree with the recommendation. So Key Equipment and Supply Company, I agree with the recommendation. I'm actually saw that they had an increase in women from, was it 2018 to now, of a 3% increase, and a 4% increase of African Americans, where it was 0% in 2018. I guess my question is, are there other good faith efforts to recruit more POCs outside of African Americans?
I believe that when they say they're recruiting diverse workforce, I think they're including everybody. I don't think they're specifically looking for African American. I know some of them say including African American, but I think they're looking for anybody and
Gotcha.
all.
Okay. Is there any stated efforts that they are like reaching out to specific demographic organizations, like a Latino organization in this particular field, et cetera?
I believe in some of the good faith efforts. I can't remember which one was which, but they do say that they go out to different publications for different groups.
Okay, thank you. Next one is National Power Riding Corp. I agree with the recommendation. So let me see, my question is, so is there an effort to increase female workers, especially in management? Because they do have a good number of female employees, but none of them have management positions. Do they have some kind of leadership program to help that pipeline of entry-level female staff into management?
I can't answer that, but we can ask them.
Thank you. Next one would be LLC. I agree with the recommendation. Sorry.
I gotta write your notes down.
Sorry.
You said females in management.
Question for you. That was National Power and Rotting. which I believe the motion was for 2 years. Generally, with a 2-year, we don't send them a letter asking about their practices or good faith efforts. So would you suggest that we amend the recommendation to do a 1-year to ask them to fill in about their practices? Were there any others that were already,
I believe we can keep the recommendation.
and then send them the request
And the
anyway?
letter, we can just ask them, yeah.
Okay. 'Cause I did-
The good thing is that we've been building good relationships with,
Right.
with the vendors, so that when we ask them questions, they respond to us.
Okay, so if you're comfortable with that,
Yeah.
great, okay.
Thank you.
I would hate to penalize just to ask a question.
Gotcha. I have the same question for Pipe View LLC.
Okay. And that's for the female management?
Yes.
Okay.
Then the next one would be Roanoke Concrete Products Company. I agree with the recommendation. I guess my question is, what is their reason for a lack of PLCs, since Peoria is a pretty diverse city? What are their recruitment efforts?
They're in East Peoria, and these numbers are for East Peoria. Again, it's who is their workforce, where are they pulling from? I don't know what their traveling patterns are as far as work commuting. So that's why I try to look at, is there public transportation available? How many vehicles are in the home? Because if it's an average of 1 vehicle, are they sharing that? I can't answer those questions. I just try to get an idea of where the workers would be coming from.
Okay.
And so that's the information that I give you at the bottom is, this is what the area that this business is located in, and here are some of the demographics for that area.
Gotcha. What are the difference in the demographics for Peoria and East Peoria?
I have those, I can give you those, but I didn't put those on here because they specifically said they're from East Peoria.
Okay. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I can do that. I'll send those to you via email.
And then the last one is Schomburg and Schomburg Construction. I agree with the recommendation. I thought the stats on the good faith effort to hire more women my question is, what are the previous stats on the good faith effort to hire more women in POCs? And then I had the same kind of union question, because they had a lot of letters that they were about recruitment, and I just wanted to know what those discussions look like, because they just say discussions. They don't actually go into detail about what those discussions are in terms of what the union is doing to help them in that recruitment effort and how they're following up with those recommendations.
Know that when we see the letters, we go back and we ask for more probing questions. We can ask them your questions, but we typically ask, what are you doing outside of sending the letters, saying we encourage? And outside of encouraging them, what else are you doing? And then we receive that information, and that's the information that we forward to you guys.
Gotcha. So it doesn't really seem like I guess from just the information, I really couldn't tell what the recruitment efforts look like between the company.
They have, each of these that had a 1-year provisional last time submitted a good faith efforts update. And so what you saw there was what we had gone with. And we just left that there. If we had a few questions ourselves, we might have said, please strengthen this letter before we go to the commission.
Gotcha.
Now,
So-
go ahead.
So those letters are the good faith effort update?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Now, one of the things that might be worth thinking about as we go forward, as you are reviewing this before the meeting, if you have any of these questions, feel free to send them to the office, and we'll try to get some answers before the meeting.
Oh, okay. Good to know. I would have done that if I,
That's quite all right.
Yeah, that's
That's
fine.
quite all right. These are great questions and good for the audience as well.
Yeah. And we can get the answers for them and have them for you.
gotcha. So then did they provide you more information about, their recruitment strategy from those letters? Because they didn't really seem very detailed, or you found the responses to be enough?
Sometimes we'll ask for more information because it's so obvious. Sometimes, even when we get an answer back, it's still a little bit vague. And so we let that land here so that when you've got more questions, or if you say, let's only do a 1 year or 6 months, it's easily
what they've
understood by
yeah.
the rest of the room.
Gotcha.
Because we've tried to get as much information as possible, and then we provide it to you guys.
So then, okay, yeah, I definitely agree with the 1 year. That's it.
Great. And thank you. It's been a while since we've had good discussion on these things. We get a little complacent, so I do appreciate that.
We try, I could just say for the office, we do try to anticipate questions, and if you guys had questions, the next go-around, we make sure we ask those of the applicants, so that we can try to incorporate everything that you guys are bringing forth. And so these will be questions that we will ask.
All right. Any other discussion, questions for staff? All right. I'm going to try and repeat the motion. So I have a motion for cross-construction, 1 year with the letter, Farnsworth Group, 1 year with the letter, Chris and Company, 2 years, Health Alliance, 2 years, Roanoke Concrete Products, 1 year with the letter, Pipeview, 2 years, Key Equipment, 1 year with the letter, Foyt's Contractors, 1 year with the letter, National Power Rodding Corporation, 2 years, Schaumburg and Schaumburg, 1 year with the letter. And you have the information on the couple of extra questions that Siobhan wanted asked. All right. That is the motion. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? That motion carries. All right, thank you. Good discussion. Item B on new business, leadership elections. Carla.
It is sad for me to share that our current chair, Stacy Burnett, had submitted her formal resignation from the board as of August 10th. So currently, we do not have a chair nor a vice chair. And so the elections would be for both.
All right. So, do we have any nominations for chair?
And you could nominate yourself or volunteer.
And you can, self-nominations are perfectly acceptable as volunteering.
I can share that the chair's work is not more extensive than the work that you're currently doing. I work with the chair a little bit more closely just to ensure that what's going to be on the agenda, items that we want to bring forward, and then help them process whatever information that they're thinking about. But it's just the additional, I think, the additional time would be just preparing for the meeting. And the office does the heavier load of carry of that.
And last time when you said you sometimes meet with the chair, that's sometimes, mostly over the phone, I think.
Yeah, it's either over the phone or if you want to be in person, but I just offer the opportunity to meet so that we stay on top of any items that need to be brought forth, like forgetting to put 1222G on the agenda. It just helps us stay abreast of what the board is looking for. And the chair, stays in contact with the board members to see if there's anything that they would like to bring forth.
I will say that I know that 3 out of 5 of us are new members. You should not be too chicken about volunteering. I, for assorted reasons, will not stand for chair. I am glad to either be vice chair or to simply help out a new chair as possible. I've been, on this commission for way too long, but certainly procedurally and stuff I can help out, and am happy to do that at any time. I think, well, like I said, there are a bunch of reasons that I think my standing for chair is inappropriate. So
You've offered that, and you've been true to your word. I've seen him do it.
Siobhan, if I were to nominate you too soon? Had a lot of good questions there.
And you will note that I am currently not vice chair. My offer to help out stands even if, for instance, you would be willing to stand for vice chair, and someone else would be willing to pick up chair. Even if it's new folks, I'm perfectly happy to help out. He looks up and down the table. We are in a pickle, but we do need someone to volunteer.
And Greg, you're not interested, is that right?
I would prefer not to be.
Prefer not to be interested?
Correct.
Does that mean you are interested and you're fighting it? Melanie?
And would you be willing to do chair?
I guess I would.
Okay.
See how it goes. It's not a lifetime appointment.
It is not. And if it becomes too much, you can always step down and we can try this again, but I have good faith. So I will take that as a nomination for Ann as chair. Are there any further nominations? Do I have a motion to close nominations?
I have a question.
We'll do one at a time, yeah.
What does the committee look like without a chair and vice chair? The commission look like without, would we still be operating the same?
We can't operate without a chair and vice chair. That is required by, actually, that's required by the ordinance and our bylaws.
Gotcha. And how long could we operate without one, since she didn't have a vice chair and the chair August 10th?
Right.
We had a vice chair and a chair at least up until our June meeting. July was the first time we didn't have a vice chair, and August is the first time where we don't have a vice chair or a chair.
And the requirement was actually that we were to have our elections last month, and we failed to do that because we were already in the pickle.
But we were still compliant up until this month.
Because there existed a chair, I believe that's true.
Melanie,
So you can
Quietly.
go ahead and either we can do the omnibus and someone else can be volunteered or volunteer themselves.
You were seeking a closed
Or
motion.
you can have a motion to close and we can do them one at a time. Either way you want to go.
Guess I'll nominate myself for vice chair.
All right. So we have a nomination for chair and a nomination for vice chair. Does anybody else wish to nominate someone for vice chair? All right. Do I have a motion to close nominations?
Motion to close.
And a second?
I second.
Any discussion of the nominations? All right, do I have a motion to approve Anne as chair and Shalini as vice chair?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I second.
All right. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Congratulations to you both.
And thank you.
Or congratulations, if you like that better. I am happy to continue if you would, that's just fine. Because I made a dog's breakfast of Robert's rules for, I believe, the elections there, but, you know, we can go over what's supposed to happen before you take over for next meeting, so that's fine. All right, so that concludes item B of new business. Item C of new business is future meeting dates. I believe this is Tom, yes?
Carl and I have been talking about last January, when we set a Tuesday meeting, we set it up for the entire year. We just want to talk now and have insights into what this group may have coming up for January of 2024 and beyond. If you could think into that time period, some people might have classes, family obligations, but what we're looking for is just a possibility of what might be coming up, and then we can start trying to look at reserving this room for the convenience of this group. I think last time we had Wednesday meetings before this, and that had gone on for a while. Just looking to see if there's any preference so that we can jump on once the calendar opens up for me to save some things. We'll have hopefully a head start just because we know what this group is thinking.
I will say I like Tuesday and I like 5:30. Melanie and I work at the library, so we just can run over here, and so for us, it's convenient. Well, I don't want to speak for you, but I think it is. So that's how I feel.
Does anybody have any concerns or exceptions of looking forward that you know of already?
Tuesdays turned out to work better for me than Wednesdays did, so. Shalini?
I typically work Wednesday evenings, so I would be unable to do Wednesdays.
Oh. I don't think so. Yeah. I prefer not first. How about that?
I think currently we have the third Tuesday of the month. Does that work? We can look for the third Tuesday, try to get the third Tuesday. And if we can't get the third Tuesday, avoid the first Tuesday.
That would be my preference. I think you have a relatively good consensus around the table.
Trying to maintain the 5:30?
Yeah. If you need to change it, you know, now's the time to tell us.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Moving on to item 8, officers' report. Carla?
Didn't I already give that? Where'd I put it? Oh, here we go. Currently, we have no formal complaints. Informal complaints, we had one for employment. We do not have jurisdiction. The office does not have jurisdiction for that. It was one of the entities that it's out of the scope of the office. And then I had a couple of calls concerning landlord-tenant issues, and I referred them to the tenants union and/or the Community Development Services Department where the building inspectors are located. Office activity, we are still in the process of hiring for a human rights specialist. Last month, I reported that the OHRE, the Office of Human Rights and Equity, planned to participate in the CU Days. However, we did not attend that event because schedules changed and we weren't able to find someone to go in on a Saturday. And so instead, the mayor, the communications director, and myself visited the Urbana schools. We did that on Thursday of last week, I think it was. Thursday, where we visited the high school, the middle school, and I think all of the elementary schools, but maybe one or two. And we dropped off the drawstring bags with the supplies in them for the children. If someone needed supplies, then they could give those bags to them. Each school got 12 bags full of supplies, and so they can use them however they see fit or whoever is in need. Met with the Illinois Municipal Human Rights Association. That's my affinity group for the state. We had the deputy director of IDHR share updates on protected classes and walk us through the website updates for the IDHR website. I participated in a training for city leadership, and we read 2 books for that, The Flight of the Buffalo and Crucial Conversations. I recommend them both if you want a good read.
The Flight of the Buffalo.
The Flight of the Buffalo and Crucial Conversations. I appreciated Crucial Conversations a lot more than The Flight of the Buffalo because I'm always saying, you're having the wrong conversation. You're having the wrong conversation. So it was a really good training. Completed orientation meetings with the new HRC members. I shared with them information that's located on the website, but I just wanted to have it in their hands, the bylaws, the procedures manual for EEO certifications, and then I also provided the calendar and when the EEO certifications are due to our office so that we can get them to you guys in a timely manner. And then I also shared the procedure that the office goes through when a complaint comes in for a complaint of discrimination, when it comes in, the standards that have to be met, and then the process of the investigation, and then the conclusion, and then what happens, probable versus non-probable. And so we walked through all of that. And then on August 8th, I attended the City of Champaign's Designated Procurement Initiative program focused on small, low-income, or disadvantaged businesses. And then they also gave an interview of the Champaign Diversity Advancement Program. We have an MOU with the City of Champaign where we provide dollars to be able to access this. It's known as CDAP, but it's the Champaign Diversity Advancement Program, where we can look at vendors who are enrolled in that program, where that's where we can get small businesses, either well, it's not small, it's big and small, but it's minority, women-owned, and veteran-owned businesses. They get certified through that system, and then we can access that to look to see if there's vendors that we could utilize for contracts. That is the end of my report.
I have a question.
Yes.
Are you still accepting applications for the Human Rights Coordinator?
The Human Rights Specialist? It
sorry.
is still open until filled. First consideration was July 24th. And so we're looking at the first consideration applicants.
Share the salary range?
I know it, but I don't know it right now. It's on the website.
Okay.
And I don't want to guess.
Any other questions for Carla? All right. Item 9 on the agenda, announcements. Our next scheduled meeting is Tuesday, September 19th at 5:30. The October meeting is Tuesday, October 17th at 5:30. Any other announcements from commissioners or from staff? All right. With that, our meeting is adjourned. Thank you all for coming. And welcome to our new members.